very good evening to everybody. Welcome to the District 91 webinar this evening. We have got an amazing trio to entertain and inform you today. So my name's Andy Hesse. I'm the webinar manager for District 91, and every week at 7 p.m. GMT, we put on a webinar of varying different tastes and information. And if you'd like to come and join us, we'll give you some details about how to do that at the very, very end. What I'd like to start with just very quickly is to do a little bit of housekeeping. We would like to see as many happy, smiling faces as we can. So unless you're hiding from law enforcement or somebody is trying to, get money from you, we would like to see you on screen, please, and have you on. This is being recorded. We had a couple of questions about this. This is going to be recorded. We will send you all a link when this is done, probably Monday or Tuesday of this week. So we will send that out, and this will also be available on the District 91 YouTube channel as well. So if you'd like to share the link with your friends and your fellow club members, then that would be fantastic. If you can please make sure that you have your microphones turned off during the presentation. We will have a Q&A session at the end, so don't worry about needing to jump in with questions. We will do a session at the end, and if you do want to put any questions into the chat, then absolutely go for it, and I will keep an eye on the chat, and I'll be helping to moderate these questions at the end. The really important thing tonight is you have fun, you enjoy it, and you take away some really valuable advice. And I'm sure that everybody on here will learn so much and come away from this with such a great amount of knowledge. So I would like to hand over to our first guest, and she is a past international president. She is currently Region 10 advisor, and she has been a fantastic help to District 91 and especially our Corporate COT series. So I would like to introduce you and hand the floor over to Pat Johnson. Pat, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Andy. Welcome to past, current, and future leaders worldwide. We originally looked at this seminar as being an opportunity to have a discussion in Region 10, but we are absolutely thrilled and amazed that the world has chosen to join us today. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and friends. Welcome to Surviving with Parliamentary Procedure. Just to walk you through the agenda before we get started today, we're going to start with a bit of introduction, and both Jean, Marike, and myself will share a bit of who we are. We're going to talk about why using parliamentary procedure in Toastmasters. It's very important that we understand why we do things. We're going to talk about who's who. And some people say who's who in the zoo, but in this case, who's who in the business meetings at Toastmasters, the roles and relationships that exist and how we strengthen those and make them work. The fourth component is how our governance actually works in Toastmasters. What comes into play when we're putting a meeting together? What takes precedence? And then we're going to have an all-exciting interactive session about who's afraid of motions. At the end, as Andy indicated, we're going to have a conclusion and a Q&A. We invite you to keep track of your questions in the chat. And when we get to the Q&A at the end of the session, we'll go back and cover your questions. So we invite you to participate that way. Just a reminder to stay muted throughout our session today. And we welcome you all to have fun and perhaps learn some knowledge or skill around surviving using parliamentary procedure in your business meetings. So without further ado, the grammarians got me for that one, I bet. Let's have a look at why we actually need to have parliamentary procedure, because there's many examples of when business meetings don't work. Over to you, Jean.
So the annual tennis club dinner is this February 15th at the clubhouse, and the only item on today's agenda, shouldn't take long, is the menu. So simple question, along with the vegetarian option, should it be beef or chicken?
What about beef and chicken?
Well, it's kind of an either-or situation.
I like pasta. A pasta option would be nice.
Okay, so these are the options that we've been given from the catering company that we selected.
Are there any other catering companies?
You remember we had a 6-hour meeting last week where we finally decided to go with this catering company.
Should we get a band?
No, we can't afford a band.
Who was the band that we heard on the radio earlier? Coldplay. God, they were very good.
Yeah, I'm not sure the tennis club can afford Coldplay.
What about a murder mystery?
We're not having a murder mystery.
I'll make a note of that in the minutes.
If we could return to the dinner option.
I thought the chairs last year were very uncomfortable.
God, Mrs. Moynihan's back was in bits.
And now the food options, if we could discuss.
Sorry, lads, is there any chance we could move it to the 12th of March?
No, we can't.
Sorry, the 12th doesn't suit me, Jerry.
I could do the 11th.
Sorry, folks, the date has been set for months, so if we could return to just the simple question of chicken or beef.
Mary Butler's allergic to shellfish.
Shellfish isn't an option.
Apparently her throat closes up.
Oh God, that's awful. I'll make a note of that in the minutes.
So we should focus just on the only item on today's agenda.
While we're on any other business.
We're not on any other business.
Does the secretary get to make a speech?
No.
Should the secretary get to make a speech?
No.
Well, if the secretary gets to make a speech,
Here we
the
go.
grass courts maintenance manager gets to make a speech. I'll tell you. I've got a bone to pick with some of the members. There's Isolde Coveney there, Kieran Ahern. Oh, yeah. Litter. There's a big problem there now.
Okay,
So
so
name names, but
quick as you can, please, folks. Beef or chicken?
There was a set of keys found in the car park.
Beef or chicken?
We're running dangerously low on urinal cakes.
Beef or chicken?
There's house martins nesting in the gutters.
Beef or chicken?
we need to have a committee WhatsApp group.
Guys, please! Beef or chicken? All those in favour of beef? And chicken? Great! It's a tie. John, you're abstaining?
Well, I'm voting for pasta.
That's not an option, John.
Then the beef.
Beef it is, then.
Would it hurt to ask them?
Ask who?
Coldplay.
Doomed up.
Oh, I don't know if you've listened to that before, but I've listened to it several times and I still feel hysterical because I've been in district meetings that aren't discussing beef and chicken, but it carries on very similar to what we just saw. So hopefully you haven't had that experience, but if you have, perhaps today will help you survive a meeting like that. So we want to welcome you, and I'll ask Jean to advance the slide for me because I'm running into technical difficulty here. Thanks, Jean. Oh, if we can go back to welcome. Okay, let's carry on. I want to welcome each one of you to the learning session on how to survive in with parliamentary procedure. We definitely know that those of us that have experienced chairing meetings, that the knowledge of Robert's Rules of Order can be transferred anywhere to your world. I certainly have used the principles in running business, meetings in my workplace and in the community, just knowing to keep that topic to one point at a time that we're discussing. It's time and effort efficient if we can do this. And when we do it, it ensures that everybody is heard that wishes to be heard, and that there's a full and open disclosure of opinions and information for all to hear. Robert's rules always ensures that the majority rules while the minority is still heard and considered. This is so important. So this is what we kept in mind when we put together today's session. We're also looking at offering a second follow-up session based on expressed need, entitled Thriving in Meetings. This will take participants to a deeper level of understanding of the working of Robert's Rules of Order, as well as serving perhaps as a position of parliamentarian in the district. And this session would cover the use of meeting books or a lectern book, and get more comfortable with meeting protocol and complex motions and depth of discussion. So we're here basically to support the understanding for you, the member, of the meetings that you attend and how your voice can and will be heard in those environments. So a special welcome to the district leaders that are currently chairing district meetings and prepping for them, as well as those parliamentarians. Our goal is to help everyone that attends a meeting understand the process, but as well to perhaps ignite an interest in parliamentary procedure and perhaps even grow parliamentarians long-term in our districts and across our regions. Our largest purpose when we started coming together, when Jean and Marike got together with me, was to actually create a community within Region 10, but we see that maybe have expanded worldwide. But we're looking at those who are interested in this area of development and becoming more proficient at Robert's Rules of Order. Some of us are aware, and it's not so frequently known in Europe, in my understanding, but there's courses and certification actually available. And currently our board of directors are enrolled to get certified in Robert's Rules. So you can see the importance of this as we lead meetings, and that all-important parliamentarian that sits beside us at those meetings. So please ask if you're interested in further development in parliamentary procedure, even up to and being certified, because Dan Jackson, our international parliamentarian, has been in touch, and we've talked to him about this also. And he does provide courses through his business. So we want to introduce ourselves. We're a group that got together across Region 10 and work to make this happen, and they bring their own unique skills and talents. So I'm just going to ask Jean and Marike to introduce themselves first, starting with Jean.
Hello there, and welcome to District 91. I'm a past district director from here, and since then I've spent some time as our parliamentarian. And I've also done the odd trip to other districts as well, which has been really interesting to support other districts as they run their council meetings. I've been involved in other committees and things to do with leadership and change. And I have a special soft spot for parliamentarianism because I think it's a really great way for us to empower our leaders and enable all of the members of our councils and committees to have a voice. Over to you, Marike.
Hi, Marike Dijksterhuis, District 59. I've been director there in, I think, 2015 to 2016. Afterwards became District 59 parliamentarian, I think 2017, 2019. And during that period, I worked with a group of assistant parliamentarians, and the aim was to create a pool of potential successors. And what I also did at the time was I tried to really enhance enthusiasm for this important democratic tool. So I'm very happy to work now together with Jean, Pat, and hopefully a lot of others to really make this community work.
Great, thank you, Jean and Marike. And my experience in parliamentary procedure, my name is Pat Johnson, and I started getting involved in parliamentary procedure in the district, and I'm from District 21 on the west side of Canada. I certainly had some training from John Noonan, who's a registered parliamentarian, when I became district governor in 2001, 2002. And that continued on up when I was international director. John followed me as my support and gave me refreshers each year as I led those successively larger and more important, well, maybe not more important, but larger meetings. And then eventually served as international president and chaired the meeting at the annual convention, which was a blast. But was I ever glad at that time when I sat on that stage with our parliamentarian beside us that I knew what needed seconds and when things were out of order, that I knew the basics and understood it and felt comfortable. So we welcome you all to this experience today. What was mentioned, I think that Andy mentioned it, that at the end there will be an evaluation form that's very brief, but it will also include information where we're asking you about future interests, whether you're interested in a community, how you would contribute, if you're interested in further in-depth training, because we see this as those survival skills to get you through. So we want to know your way forward. So let's take some time now and look at why. Why do we actually need parliamentary procedure? And I referenced this very quickly at the beginning, but really this is about guaranteeing transparency in the democratic decision making. We also look at it providing a fair and free exchange of arguments or points of view. Very, very important as we run our districts. We know that the majority rules, but the minority has their rights and they will be seen and heard. And that parliamentary procedure really brings clarity about the subject at hand. So how does our governance work? I'm going to ask Andy to launch a poll right now, and I'm going to ask you which documents are part of the governance of our meetings. And you can, it's multiple choice, you'll see. So which documents are part of the governance of our meetings? So I ask you all to complete this. Okay, we're reading, 37 have answered. Your name doesn't show up beside your answer if you're concerned about anonymity in this situation. %80 so far have voted. We'll wait for a few more. I'll wait 5 more seconds. Okay, some people are opting not to respond. Okay, let's have a look at the results that we have. We have 83% have voted for the bylaws of Toastmasters International, 54% the articles of incorporation, policies got 67, protocol 70%, district administrative bylaws 72%, and Robert's rules 79. Thank you for having a look at that. And let's have a look at governance. And I'll have Jean, if you can give me the next slide. This is in order of authority. Actually, all of these have authority in our meetings. The highest authority, but which is furthest away from our district meetings, is the Articles of Incorporation for Toastmasters International. These can be modified only by the voting membership, but they are the furthest away from our district, but on the highest order. Then we look at bylaws of Toastmasters International. Bylaws are our governing document, but they can only be modified by the voting membership at our annual general meeting held during our convention. So bylaws are very solid parts of our governance and they have authority. Then we look at policy. This is secondary to the Articles of Incorporation as well as the bylaws. And they're adopted and revised by the Board of Directors under the authority to adopt policies and protocol containing the board's major administrative decisions. So this is governed also by the bylaws of Toastmasters International. Number 4, protocols of Toastmasters. These are little known in the world generally, but protocols in Toastmasters are decided by the CEO and the international president and the president-elect current. And they're basically dealing with more fluid or dynamic issues or situations in the moment or in that particular time. So protocols are part of our governance and authority. Then we have the district administrative bylaws. Now, our current district directors certainly know these well. They're the document that sits at your right-hand side and you reach over at least 2 or 3 times a day to check to see what they advise us to do. These are available on toastmasters.org for everyone. And this is the most important part, in my opinion, for you to have a look at, for all members to read our governing administration of districts of Toastmasters. They're issued and modified by the board of directors. And this is they're really critical when you are in leadership in Toastmasters. Our district administrative bylaws provide great information and guidance about the roles of TI and the districts and clubs as a single unit within different operating parts. And these administrative bylaws provide provisional districts and territorial councils also how they are run and a guidance for that. So when we look at the district administrative bylaws, I'm going to ask you to go to get that document, read it for your own enlightenment. They're very, very useful. They're broken down into sections, and you can find what pertains to the issues that you're looking at, but a critical base part for you to know if and when you're running a meeting. And finally, we have number 6, Robert's Rules of Order. And this is what we're exploring today. Point to note that Robert's Rules puts out new editions occasionally, and just this year they've put out a new edition. So if you are super interested, make sure that you buy the latest and greatest Robert's Rules. I just downloaded it on my Kindle, and so make sure that you have the up-to-date. So the answer here is that all of these documents are authority in governance for our meetings. The most important, if we start with Robert's Rules and the district administration, that administrative bylaws, excuse me, that'll stand us in good stead. But all the others, as we have more complex questions, we rise up to including the Articles of Incorporation. So we're going to look at who's who and roles and responsibilities, as well as relationships. Over to Jean.
Thank you, Pat. So ladies and gentlemen, we have working with Robert's Rules and with our own governing documents, and underpinning all of this are democratic principles. These principles that ensure that the rights of people to contribute and to have a voice are sustained and allowed for, and that everybody is clear on what their role is and what they can do, and where changes can be made at different times to make things happen. So when I think of who's who, I think of my very first district director when I was a member of the trio, and she's here today. Luann Kent was my very first district director when I was club growth director. Yay, Luann. And I remember Luann studying really hard for her council meeting. And I was thinking, these guys make it all look really easy. I don't understand why she's working so hard to study for all of this. And then I became district director after, a couple of years. And by that point, I realized that all of that studying, I can see you now, Luann, excellent. All that studying was absolutely worth it. And when I was sitting there doing my studying, I thought of Luann and I smiled. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit about our structure. Now, within our districts, we have a district council and a district executive committee. So what I'd like to start us off with is for Andy to share the second question in our poll. Who are the members of our district council? Okay, so you've got lots of options here. You've got a multiple choice squared. So choose away. Let us know who you think are members of the district council. Okay, I can see the results coming through. This is so interesting. It's quite good fun watching you answer all these questions. Okay, almost there. We're at 63% people voted. Oh, 67, 69, 70. Still coming through. Look at this, voting all over the world. Okay, so let's see the results. So we have, the top answer, it looks like, is district director. Yes, absolutely. The district director is a member of the district council. Although sometimes the district director needs to act more as a chair than as a participant. Club presidents and VPEs are members of the council and actually are the ones who make up our quorum. VPMs aren't members of the district council, unless of course the VPM is going along to a proxy as a proxy to a face-to-face meeting, of course, but otherwise not. Area and division directors, yes. The assistant area and division directors, not. Our parliamentarian, though you'd think so, wouldn't you? Actually, no. Parliamentarian isn't a member of the district council because the parliamentarian is there to support and guide, not as a member of the council themselves. Our program quality director and club growth director, yes. Finance, admin and PR managers, yes. The logistics manager, no. But our IPDD, yes. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We have lots of people who are members of our district council. And the role of the district council is to conduct all the business of the district. So if you look at those district administrative bylaws that Pat was talking about, the district council is the body responsible for the running of the district. And one of the things that captured my attention when I first read this is responsibility for the payment of all district related debts. So, you know, when they bring along the budget for approval and when they bring along those audit reports, that's when you want to really pay attention if you're a member of the district council, because all of us who are members of that council are responsible for those finances. We also have a district executive committee, and those are the members of the district council except for the club presidents and the club VPEs. And their role is to work together with the district leadership team and actually as part of the district leadership team, because they are members of the district executive committee too, working together to ensure that the district and our leaders are working towards the achievement of our district mission. So those two groups are really key for the leadership of our district. Now, as part of this group of people who come to our district council and our district executive committee, we have our district director, who is there to chair the meeting, the administration manager, who is providing a support role, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a bit. We have a parliamentarian and we have a credentials manager. And the reason that the parliamentarian and the credentials manager aren't coloured in that, lovely kind of maroon blue colour is because they aren't members, not by those roles anyway, they're not members of the district council or the district executive committee, unless of course they're doubling up on the jobs. But in those roles, they are not members of those groups. So what I'm going to do now is let's check out a few things. I'm going to go to our quiz again. Andy, could we have question number 3, please, which is who sets out the notices of the council meetings? Okay, I'm getting answers through. Okay. Haha. Interesting. Okay, we're 76%. This one's faster than the other one. It takes less work. Huh. Very good. So we have a winner in the administration manager. And as we can see here from the poll, I hope you can see, 70% of people said that it was the administration manager who sets out the notices. That is part of their role. Now, what's interesting is that 27% of people said the district director, because sometimes in practice, that's what happens, because I guess we're just pragmatic people. But in reality, the role is that of the administration manager. So then I'm going to ask the next question. Who, Andy, if you could have question 4, who registers attendees and reports on whether we are quorate? Who do we think? Okay, numbers are going up fast. Yeah. Excellent. So we have a winner here with the credentials chair. And interesting that it is 59% of the votes and that there are some other options being voted for. So the role is that of the credentials chair to register people and to tell us, once we have all the registrations through, the number of people that we have registered who are voters and whether we are quorate. Now, what happens in practice, perhaps sometimes, is that there isn't a credentials chair and the administration manager does it. And I would really recommend having a credentials chair in place so that the administration manager can focus on their role. When I was growing up in my Toastmasters life, for us in my district, the credentials chair and parliamentarian role was done by one person. And then I came to try and do both of those things. And I realized that that's actually quite a hard thing to do. And I realized that actually most other districts, from my polling, we might be able to check today, actually they separate that role. So the credentials chair can focus on taking care of being able to register voters, and they focus on being the person who is accountable for declaring whether we are quorate. And that leaves the parliamentarian to act as an advisor and a guide and an overseer of the process so that they're not mixed up in the question of whether we're quorate or not and who's registered and, you know, when there are proxies, who's got a proxy. The parliamentarian can sit back and look at the whole picture. So one of the things that has been really brilliant about this process that myself and Pat and Marike have been part of, we've been talking about lots of these questions. And we talked about the fact that actually having the credentials chair and the parliamentarian as one role is potentially a conflict of interest. So let's keep it simple and let's go and find the people that we need to run our meetings really, really well and keep it nice and simple and slick. That would be my piece of advice. So now let's have another question, which I think might be easy, but let's see. We have question 5, who normally chairs the council meeting? Who do we think? Yeah, scores are coming in. Very good, very good. 73% voted. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so we have a very strong preference for the district director. So yeah, district director, their job, their role within our district includes chairing our council meeting. Now, there are times, of course, when the district director might not be available. In fact, one of the council meetings that I was supporting almost a year ago, the district director was unable to attend the beginning of the council meeting. So the program quality director stepped in. And I think we were all very grateful that the program quality director had been part of our pre-council meeting briefings so that they had a sense of what was coming. They had the script and they knew that their parliamentarian was there to support them as they unexpectedly took on the leadership of the council meeting. So it's always well worth being prepared, program quality directors and club growth directors, you never know. Make sure you're ready to step into the breach. And that should, I think if I had realized that whilst Luann was doing her studying, I might have been slightly more attentive to the fact that she was doing so much studying. So now our next and final question before we move on a little is, who provides guidance to the chair on Toastmasters governance and parliamentary procedure? Question 6. Okay, scores are going up. Very good, very good. 70%, 74. This is like a game show. This is great fun. Okay, we are almost all agreed that it is the parliamentarian whose job it is to provide guidance to the chair and to provide that kind of support that the district director needs, normally when it's the district director who is chairing the meeting. So yeah, parliamentarian. So how many parliamentarians have we got in the group? Bit of a hand waving. Okay, very good. I see a bit of hand waving. How many district directors? Aha, hello, hello. Administration managers? And not so many administration. Oh yeah, no, I can see some. And credentials chairs, or people who've served as credential chairs. Excellent. Oh, good. That's good news. Okay, so we've got lots of people who have or who are doing these roles, or who now, no doubt, have done these roles in the past. So in the slide deck, you will see that I have some slides for you here that provides a bit more information on these roles. So to call out a few things here. So going back to Luann and her studying, there is something about being sure that when you are administering and overseeing the district's day-to-day operations and finances, and when you are chair, that you're objective, and that actually, if you need to step into the discussion, that you hand over the chair to somebody else so that you may participate actively. And then, you know, hopefully the person who has the chair will give it back to you once you're finished doing what it is that you need to do. But while you're in the chair, make sure that you are objective and that you can be statesperson-like. We're not looking for those parliaments where people are sitting in long rows and throwing words and almost like throwing tomatoes at each other. This is a statesperson-like environment where we have integrity and respect, and we are of service to each other, and we want to do this stuff excellently. Our administration manager is sending out advance notification, providing papers in advance, making sure our space is ready. And then once the chair has agreed to them, sending out minutes once they've been agreed. And then our parliamentarian is, I think the best days are when you barely notice there's a parliamentarian there at all. It's like little mice, maybe in the background, saying a few things when we're online, saying a few things on WhatsApp. Ooh, watch out for this one. Look out for this point here. Ooh, we may be out of time. A bit of quietness in the background, supporting our district director or chair. And the key is that it is unobtrusive, because it is the chair's responsibility to lead the room and to make sure that we are all supported as we go through. And then finally, our credentials manager, and particularly in these times of online meetings and online voting, it's really important that the credentials chair is happy that we are well set up for the electronic elements of this, so that it is all really smooth. And is particularly ready when we have lots of candidates for election in our May and our district council meetings that are coming up next. So in the next slide, I am going to very briefly show you, but not speak about it. What we have done is we've got an extra slide in here so that when you get the slide deck in the chat, you have this for reference, but I'm not going to talk you through it. That's for the thriving session that we might set up later if there's enough demand. So we have a bit of information here on the purpose and membership, etc., of the District Council and the District Executive Committee, and some more specifics about the role of the District Director. And the reason that they're in this pack is that often choices need to be made about what gets brought to whom, who can influence what decisions can be made where, which motions are in order, which motions might be out of order. And this information is really key for you as a guide for anybody who's participating in or leading these sessions. And the depth behind what's in this slide is in those district administration guidelines and the bylaws and the governing documents that Pat talked us through. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my time done on who's who. Now for who's afraid of motions. Over to you, Marike.
Yes, can I see hands? Wave your hand if you are at least a little bit afraid of motions. Yeah. Well, here's the good news. You can overcome this fear by getting to know them better. And I'll show you, we have 23 motions for all sorts of situations. Maybe, Jean, you could move it for me? Yeah, we have 23 motions for all sorts of situations to help us. And I will explain the ones we use most. And we will post a chart also at the end of this meeting in the chat. And you can also find it, of course, at the Toastmasters International website. So let's have a look at this chart. It's a brilliantly condensed, rich overview. And I really encourage you to study it more closely if you have a spare moment, like the district administrative bylaws, by the way. So you have something to put under your cushion. Well, look at the columns first. The first column shows the names of the motions. The next column shows the type of motions. I'll see if it works now. Jean? Almost in the middle, at number 13, we see the main motion, the core motion to bring a question or topic before the Assembly, Council, or Committee for consideration. Next. Above it, we find the subsidiary motions. And these are motions that modify or dispense of the main motion under consideration. And above it, we find the privileged motions. They have no connection with the main motion, but demand immediate consideration. And below the main motion, we find the incidental motions. And these are miscellaneous ones that can't be placed in the above categories, plus at the bottom 2 orphans. Now we go back to the chart and we look at the columns again. And we were left at the third one. So the third column shows whether the motion can interrupt the speaker. The next one, whether the motion requires a second or not. I will explain that later. And next, whether the motion is amendable or not, meaning that it can be altered or modified. And I will come back to that later too. The next one, whether it is debatable. And next, whether the motion requires a simple majority, a 2/3 majority, or no majority at all. And the more impacts the decision taken, the more people have to vote in favor. And the last column shows the purpose of the motion. Now let's go back to the core of the process, the main motion. Andy, can I have question 12? And the question is, can anyone claim the floor to speak in a meeting at any time? So the votes are coming in. 60, 80%, some more, 82. Yeah, we are almost there. So I will end the polling. Yes, and almost everybody had it right, only after being recognized by the chair. So if you wanna, yes, sorry, okay. If you want to speak, you raise your hand, you get recognized by the chair, and then you raise your motion, meaning you move your topic in front of the assembly. Question 13. Can you immediately start expressing your opinion after you've raised the motion? Well, seems like an easy question. We get some differences coming in now. %, 80%. Yeah, almost there. All right. The right answer is no, it needs a second, and the chair has to open the floor for discussion. And you may ask, why do most motions need a second? Well, seconding a motion validates the topic is relevant for more than one person, and you don't have to agree with the motion to second it. Seconding means you think the topic is relevant to discuss, and you don't have to state your name, or you have to be recognized by the chair when you second, and if nobody seconds, the motion fails. Now, at this point in the process, can you show the next one, Jean? So after step 2, informal remarks to modify the wording of the motion or withdrawal by the motion maker are still possible. as long as it does not run into debate. And once the chair repeats the motion, it belongs to the assembly. Now, next, the chair opens the floor for discussion. First, the motion carrier can speak in favor. Next, anybody opposed can speak up, and this continues to and fro. And if all has been said, the chair will ask if the assembly is ready to proceed to the vote. Those opposed raise their hand, those in favor, and the abstentions. And step 6, the chair announces the result in numbers and whether the motion is carried or rejected. Now, this might be a bit hard to remember, but we are Toastmasters, aren't we? So why not add vocal variety and body language? Now, if you listen closely to it, there's a rhythm to this process, the rhythm of the motion. And if you add movements to it, you have a dance, the Parliamentarian Dance. And maybe, Jean, you can show us the next slide, and then you can all go along with me. 1, at 4, 2, 3, 4. I move, I second. It has been moved and seconded. I open the floor for discussion. In favor, opposed. In favor, opposed. Proceed to the vote. Opposed. In favor. Abstentions. Carried or failed. Yeah, well done, well done, well done. We do it in the end, we do it all together again, all right? Great. Now, let's go back to the main motion. Jean? Question 14. What can you do if during the debate about a motion, you want to change the wording of the proposal? %, 50%, 60, 70. Well, almost all votes are in. Okay, so I'll stop it. Yes, you can raise a motion to change the motion at hand. And this motion is called an amendment. Can you show us, can you show us that slide? Actually, it's the previous one. Jean? Yeah, amendment, great. So this motion is called an amendment. A change can be to insert, add, strike out, or replace words. Yeah, now you can move it. We follow the same procedure as with the main motion. If the amendment is approved, the pending motion is changed and the amended motion is debated. And if the amendment is rejected, the original main motion is debated. And fortunately, we can only have 2 amendments per motion. Now, I'll show you an example to make it a little bit more visible. And Jean can, yes, here we go. So we start at the bottom with a green main motion. Someone moves, for example, that all district officers get a training in parliamentary procedures in July. Good motion, by the way. And during the discussion, someone moves to replace district officers by district council members because she argues it's also relevant for presidents and VPE. And next, someone moves to replace July by January because he argues it's more relevant to know this stuff prior to the annual meeting in May. And now we've reached the max of 2 amendments. We've reached the top, so to speak. So now we will walk down by voting for the 3 consecutive motions. So can you click, Jean? Yes, here. Now, let's say the pink motion is rejected, meaning July remains July. Then we go to the next one, and let's say the yellow motion is approved. Could you start clicking, Jean? Yeah, so suppose the yellow motion is approved, meaning district officers will change into district council members. And so in the end, we will vote again for the, yes, for the amended main motion that has become now, I move that all district council members get a training in parliamentary procedures in July. So that's the process. Main motion, amendment, amendment, and then you vote for the top amendment, for the middle amendment, and then in the end to the original main motion that has been amended or not. Now, sometimes if you can move to the next slide, sometimes it's not clear to you what exactly is meant by a motion, an amendment or an argument in the debate. Now, can I have question 16? What can you do if you're not sure about the meaning of a motion, a suggested amendment, or an argument used in the discussion? So we're almost there. 85, 86, well, we're almost there. So I think I'll stop the polling now. And the answer is raise a request for information to clarify it. And could you do the next slide, Jean? You always have the right to ask for clarity about the question or topic at hand. And the motion request for information guarantees you the right to ask questions to obtain this clarity. And as you can see on top, without a second, a debate, or a majority. And sometimes, next slide, the unclarity can't be solved by answers to requests for information. And it turns out there is simply not enough information available to make a well-founded decision. Question 17. Now, what can you do when there's not enough information to make a well-founded decision? This is going fast. Yeah, super fast. 81%. Okay, so we're almost there. So I will end the polling, and most people have it right indeed. Raise a motion to refer the question to a committee. And you can you show me the next slide? You can raise a motion to refer it to a committee for further study and set a time when it has to be presented. And after the work has been done, the committee will return to the assembly with a report. It can also be at the next meeting, of course. And a motion should be made to adopt the proposal it contains. Can I have question 18? Does that particular motion need a second? This is interesting. Which one will win? Okay, we are almost there. Anybody wants to vote? Because I'm going to close it now. All right. The answer is no. And why would that be? Because a committee consists of more than one member, so it doesn't need a second anymore to validate its importance. Next slide. As we said in the beginning, we want to conduct our meetings smoothly, fairly, and transparently. But sometimes you can have the impression that the rules aren't followed properly. So question 19, what can you do when you have the impression that the rules are violated? Yeah, piece of cake, I think. Piece of cake. All right. Yes, indeed. It is raise a point of order. And you can do that if you show the next slide, Jean, at any time without a second debate or majority. And the chair will ask you to state your point and will either take the point and restore the order or explain why the rules have not been violated. And since it's the role of the chair to maintain order, she may also at any time state a point of order and explain why an action or motion is out of order. For example, when a proposed amendment has nothing to do with the original motion, or when members are discussing with each other during the debate instead of speaking through the chair, or when a member has no right to speak because he or she is not recognized, when a member really deviates from the topic at hand, when there is insulting or offensive language used, and all these kind of reasons. Next slide. Time management. This can be really an issue at Toastmasters business meetings. And that's strange because we're champions in timing speeches and evaluations. And let's be honest, none of us is fond of endless district council meetings. So question 20. What can a chair do to help the assembly stay within the allotted time? All right, almost everybody voted. Yes, limited time of the debate about a motion before the start of the debate. And question 21. What can you do when you are hungry and fear it will take at least one more hour before everyone with their hand raised has spoken? So most people voted. Okay. Yes, I'll show you at the next slide. So both the chair and you can limit the time of the debate. The chair can do it beforehand, for example, by putting the maximum length of the debate at 10 minutes, or ordering that each speaker only has 1 minute, or setting the maximum number of speakers to 4. And of course, you yourself can also raise a motion to extend the limits of the debate if you have the feeling that this is necessary to make a well-founded decision. Can I have the next slide? For this moment, I would say, so far for this first survival kit on motions. Once you know the rules of the game, business meetings become more effective and enjoyable, and motions become less frightening. Shall we all do the parliamentarian dance together once more? Could you give me the slide? Yes. All right. So it's 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I move. I second. It has been moved and seconded. I open the floor for discussion. In favor, opposed, in favor, opposed. Proceed to the vote. Opposed. In favor, abstentions, carried or failed. And from here on, I'll give over to Pat.
Thank you so much, Marike, for walking us through that fun introduction to those motions. And I had an amazing amount of flashbacks when I was first starting to learn parliamentary procedure. So thank you for making it so transparent and clear. Our chat box has been very busy. And so before we go to our question and answer period, I'm going to turn it over to Jean to talk about next steps. So help me welcome Jean.
Thank you, Pat. We've talked about lots and lots of things so far in a very brief period of time, and this is just the survival session. And on this call, there are lots and lots of people that at some time or another, I've had a conversation with about Robert's rules, or how the governing documents work, or what to do because this thing has changed in the governing documents, or how we do council meetings. And lots of us, I think, have had lots of those kinds of conversations. And when myself and Pat and Marike were talking about this, we were thinking, wouldn't it be really great if there was more for us, a place for us to come together and support each other and find resources. So we explored a couple of things, and we'd like to share these ideas with you now that are really, they're just floating ideas. They might be changed depending on the response to them, and if there are people who are up for getting involved and taking the lead as well. The first thing is that we imagine that there might be a second session that takes us from surviving to thriving, where we might go deeper into some of these subjects that would be shaped depending on what we think would be helpful for us as we lead and participate in council meetings and district executive committee meetings. So we might share ideas and stories. I think everybody in this room must have at least one story, if not a multitude. And we also think there are opportunities for us to share lectern books. Some people call them lectern books, the books that kind of tell you what happens next to help you plan through the next thing to happen in any meeting, or a script that kind of talks you through the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call for this motion or whatever. So we could share those kinds of resources that we have that are tucked away all over our districts, I would say, and have the opportunity to practice the more complex motions. And of course, practice our dance, which, you know, I think there's an opportunity for us to have perfect synchronicity as we go through our parliamentary procedure, Who's Afraid of Motions dance. So we've got all sorts of opportunities there, and we'd be interested in what other people might be interested in and whether they'd be interested in this. So if you want to say anything in the chat about that, and we also have this survey coming through that will be really interested in your perspective. The other thing that we talked about, and we were kind of focused on Region 10 when we were talking about this, because I guess that this is where the work originated, was having some kind of community of people who are interested in this kind of content, who are, you know, regularly supporting district leadership teams, people who enjoy it. In fact, I discovered as part of the preparation for this session that our host, Mr. Andy Hesse, has quite a lot of knowledge about parliamentary procedure and has actually read the governing documents. So there's people all over the place, I think, who are really interested in this kind of thing. We just have to ask. So we could provide mutual support. We could share more videos like those three, or actually, I think it was just 2 Irish guys at the beginning, but they were dressed up in different costumes. We could watch more videos like that. We could have more training and help new parliamentarians support district leadership teams, help new district directors come into their roles and feel really confident when they're standing in front of their districts for the first time. And for anybody who wants to participate in these meetings and know that it's okay to raise a point of order, for example. So, and potentially we could have a shared library that might start with the files that, actually, Andy, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat for us, we'll share the slides from this session and the chart of motions picture. So there's all sorts of things that we might be able to share together as well. What it means is ideas and people to get involved and to share ideas and share support for each other. And one of the things we were wondering about for this session is that because there are so many people from all over the world who are here today, whether there might be an opportunity for different regions to have communities and those communities to build links. There are all sorts of things that we might do. So an opportunity in the chat to share what might be of interest to you, and an opportunity in the forum. And now I'll hand over to the lovely Pat for our questions and answers, of which I see there are many.
Yes, there is a busy chat box, and thank you, Jean, again for wrapping that up in terms of where we see this going if the people are willing. So the very first question we have is from Rory, and he says, how do I start the certification process? So Rory, it depends somewhat on where you are, but I know, is Marike on the call? Can anybody see if Marike, are you here? Perhaps not.
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Oh, can you share? I know that the executive committee is currently involved in getting certified. So can you share what you know about the certification process?
Yeah, so we're working through the certification process for the National Association of Parliamentarians, and they have different groups that meet all around the world. There is a group that you can, it looks like it mainly is the US, but there is a group that you can attach to from Europe. I can post the link to their website in the chat for people.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next question, going down, lots of comments, people commenting, looking for questions. Does the club have to vote to use 2/3 quorum instead of simple majority? And this was from District 46. So Marike, do you want to cover this one? Does the club have to vote to use 2/3 quorum instead of simple majority? So
It depends on of what they are voting about, I would say.
So where my thought goes here is that it indicates in the club constitution, right, and how they will proceed and where they vote. Is that not correct? So the club would not decide if they have to have 2/3 or a simple majority when they're voting on something. That's determined by the type of motion it is, and also the club constitution would be your governing documents. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, true.
Okay. Rick Sider states that Robert's rules does not have wording as simple majority. So Rick, will you just give us?
You are right. You are right. It is majority, 2/3 majority, and simple majority. You're correct. Yeah.
Sometimes we get these words and then we say them unknowingly, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Evelyn from District 46, if the meeting is called, is a vote valid with the majority attending, even if it is not the majority of the membership? Here, I believe we're talking about having a quorum, right, Marike? Do you want to respond to this?
Where are we?
Well, it's District 46, Club Growth. Evelyn says, if the meeting is called, is a vote valid with the majority attending, even if it's not the majority of membership? So I believe that's about a quorum.
Yes. What counts is, oh, wait. Who knows this? It's really a couple of years ago I handled quorum, so maybe somebody who has some more recent information.
My understanding here, and I'm open to somebody, if I've got it wrong, to somebody unmute and correct us, but I would think that you must have a quorum in your club to be able to vote, or else if you don't have a quorum, then you would have to send it out to the membership for voting to ratify the decision that you make without a quorum, the same as at district level. So you would, and a quorum would be membership plus one, or half of the membership plus one. Unless you need 2/3 for something, but in most situations you would be voting with a.
And it's indeed active members, but that's always the case. People, active members, active clubs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A question from district undistricted, and a number of districts, District 7, 71, 74, we've got a Toastmaster of the world. How many in favor and opposed segments can you have after the floor is open for discussion? So that would be how many speakers would you call?
Well, that's there are no specific limits to it. So it's either it goes with the flow, and then that when it doesn't take hours, well, you can bring it to a vote. And as a chair, of course, you can always ask, are you ready? Are we ready to proceed to the vote?
Okay, that'll do. Thanks very much.
Charles, could you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
So it's two ways. You can set it beforehand with a motion to limit the time of the debate, or the chair can set it beforehand, and sometimes of course you know beforehand if it will be a topic. Sometimes you know beforehand if it will be a topic that demands a lot of discussion, because I mean you have your ears and eyes open, and then it can be wise to set a time beforehand.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
I was going to say what I've seen at international is that if they ask people to line up behind mics to speak for and against or opposed, and then they'll say that we'll alternate back and forth until the shortest line is represented, or they'll limit the time of debate. And then they also ask people to not make a point that's already been made. So they really restrict that we're just not hearing the same a different person say the very same thing, that it has to be new information. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Yep. Okay. To build upon Evelyn's question, how does an answer differ for a prospective Toastmasters or non-Toastmasters chartered club? Jenny, I'm not sure I understand this question. Would you reframe it in the chat and we'll come to it? The club cannot change the core. Okay, that's an answer to a question. Okay. The meeting should have a time limit on it, a question. Yes, when you call a meeting, there is a time limit, but then you have to vote to extend the meeting if you are not finished your business. Correct? Yeah. I found that, so Sudash from my colleague, region advisor from 13, Sudash said, I found that motion 10 requires to second as per the 23 motions. But Marike mentioned it's not required to second it. So motion 10. Can you address that, Marike?
Refer to committee. Yes. Well, if you look it up in Robert's Rules of Order, it says when a committee comes back with a report, it doesn't need a second.
So does it need a second when you send it to committee? But it doesn't need a second when it comes back.
It doesn't need a second when it comes back. But when you send it, yes. But when it comes back, not, because then a committee consists of more than one person. So it has already been validated as being important enough to handle. Yes, that's it.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. Antonia from District 91, are there meeting scripts available for area council and division council meetings, particularly the area meeting, including area director elections? Actually, lectern books or meeting scripts can be prepared for any of the meetings that you're chairing. So I certainly have outlines for them. I know Marike and Jean all have, and many people that have served in these roles have outlines. So if you've got someone that's close to you, or you're want to put a request in your feedback sheet, we can, or come to the next session. We're going to actually talk about how to set them up and how to use those books. So some other people mentioning that they'd like to be part of the community. Okay, somebody advertising their Toastmasters Club, thank you. And some move to suspend the rules. Okay, looking for other questions. When does parliamentary procedure apply or override by world headquarters and governments, and for what case? For example, prospective clubs. So this is when does parliamentary procedure apply or override by world headquarters and governments, and for what cases? Jenny, I'm not.
I think the parliamentary procedures is at the bottom, as you showed in your first slide. So they don't prevail over other governing documents we have.
Yeah, so everything else comes first. Everything else comes before parliamentary procedure, yes. In addition to governing docs online, where can we download bylaws and procedures to world headquarters and district? If you go to toastmasters.org and go to governing documents, they're all there. Who is the policy governing doc expert at World Headquarters to consult on the spirit rationale behind the rules? Bylaws and policies and procedures are created by our board of directors. And so they are the body that determines those. Bylaws are brought to our voting membership if we're making a change to have that happen. Why does it seem that there are always so many disqualified ballots at district council elections? Okay, not a question that we can answer here. Thank you, Bill, for that. What are your thoughts on parliamentary basics being a regular part of COT? Jean, do you want to address that?
I think it's a great idea to develop some materials as part of COT. Maybe that's something that our community could take a look at, to develop some materials around club parliamentary procedure. And in fact, when we were developing this, there was some interest in this kind of session, but focusing on procedures within clubs. So there's something that our community could do. And we could also link in with the education team at HQ and see what they have as well.
And there's also this in the youth leadership handbook. There's also a chapter on parliamentary procedures. That's really the basics of it.
Great. Yes, thank you. And we used to have clubs. I joined a long time ago, but we used to have clubs where parliamentary procedure was part of our meetings. We'd have a mock meeting for the first 10 minutes of and so we learned parliamentary procedure. So it's very valuable, transferable skill. Rick Sider just advised us that we want to say yield control rather than turn the lectern over. We don't want to turn the lectern over. It might look like we're upset, or hand back over, or turn over the lectern, etc. So we yield control, just as we talk about holding the power. If people have a really, Jenny, I see you've written many questions that are very long and complex. And so I'm going to ask you to please get in touch with somebody who's local, whether that's me or Marike or Jean, so we can have a full discussion about your many questions, because they're complex and hard to work through without knowing all the details, okay? So please put a request for us to follow up in your feedback sheet. In the online deck, what would be the quorum? Is it counted from the pre-registered voters or the number of voters present at the deck on Zoom? Sudash from Region 13. Jean, do you know this, or Marike? I think guidance from World Headquarters comes out regarding this. My understanding was last time, if I recall correctly, that it was counted from the pre-registered voters. But yeah, Rick Sider has given me the thumbs up. So that's what I recall from last time, is that it's the same as if we were walking into a room and we register, but if we leave the room during the vote, we don't cast our vote, but we're still counted as part of the quorum. But let's be responsible leaders. If we register, be there to vote. Okay. Oh, we've got like 30, 34, 40 more questions. Somebody's asking what online voting election tool is recommended for online elections. This will come out from World Headquarters. There is information from World Headquarters regarding that, what works and what doesn't work. So please ask around your districts and your colleagues for that. Jean, Marike, anything to add there? Okay, great. How long is the motion towards the end of all question answers? Not how long is the motion towards the end of all questions answer? Sorry, I don't understand that question. I can't catch up to all the questions. Can an active member set an apology and the voting preference for a motion? Can an active member send an apology and the voting preference for a motion? That's not any term that I know of or understand in parliamentary procedure.
This might be about proxies. So directing proxies to vote in a particular way.
Oh, okay. Proxies are given to what they're sent out to presidents and.
So with the face-to-face meetings, people would be able to give proxies to on behalf of presidents and VPEs, so you could direct that voter, but we haven't had proxies in the virtual meetings.
Yeah, no proxies in virtual meetings for sure. So when we're back in person, we're not going to, I've still got 48 new messages in the chat box. So they're coming faster than we can answer them. We love all your questions. Let's say that we encourage you to follow up, write your questions in your feedback sheets, please. We appreciate the huge interest there is in this topic, and we would love to share the information with you. If you're interested in more, which it sounds like you are, please indicate so, and we will move the forces to make another thriving in meetings session work for us. So thank you all for your time. A shout out to Andy for being a superb Zoom master for us today. Thank you for your great support. Thank you to the district leaders for promoting this and making it available to all of you, for the service that each one of you will do by being informed as you sit in your district business meeting, because we can be a force that moves it forward. And by asking good questions, by being engaged, that's part of our leadership development in our district. And our district leaders definitely appreciate a good clarifying question, somebody that knows their way around parliamentary procedure, and someone that is there in a positive influence as we work through sometimes very controversial and debatable topics, but that's why we have parliamentary procedure. So before we close, I just want to turn back to Marike and Jean to say some final words. Jean.
Everyone, thank you so much for your energy and your active participation today. We weren't sure how many people would want to come along to a session on thriving with parliamentary procedure, but actually it seems like there's lots of interest in this. And I guess it makes sense, because really all of this is about people and about making decisions together and making things work really well together. So I've really enjoyed it, and I feel really energized for whatever's next. Thank you.
And Marike.
Yeah, for me the same. We tried, you always want to have sessions as interactive as possible, and it's we tried this by doing these polls and seeing your reactions. So I really hope that we gave a little bit of our enthusiasm about the topic, and I think we really got it back from you as well. So let's continue in some way or another.
Great, thank you. And Andy, could you post, if you haven't done yet, the feedback sheet for people to complete and indicate how much they want another session on parliamentary procedure?
I have posted it and people have been filling it out, but what I will do is I will just post it again, just so that it kind of appears at the top of everybody's chat. There we go.
Awesome, thank you so much. Thank you,
what I would like to do.
Yes, Andy.
Sorry, but what I would like to do is I would like to just propose a quick motion for everybody to unmute themselves. And can you please give a huge round of applause to our three fantastic presenters this evening. I think they've just done an amazing job. The feedback in the chat has been amazing. So if I can please have...
I second the motion. Does it require a seconder? Is it a main motion?
The committee, yeah.
Already anyhow.
In favor, opposed, abstained.
Proceed to the vote.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you everyone for your time and for playing in the field of parliamentary procedure. And we look forward to seeing you at that next session, whoever is delivering it, wherever it may be. And thank you, Marike, for being a sport when I put you on the spot. We know you're used to it. You're a leader.
Wonderful. So just before everybody dashes off, we are here every Sunday evening with our District 91 webinars. Next week, the 7th of March, we are going to be talking about open house meetings. And Amy Jones, who is one of our area directors, is going to be talking about what open house meetings are, why they're important, and what resources are available. 14th of March, Kit Barrett, who is one of our technical Toastmasters, are going to be talking about OBS and Zoom to help create those next level presentations and to use a bit more software and a bit more structure in terms of technology. And then the week after that, we are talking about gavel clubs and youth leadership. So there are so many great bits of webinar coming up every Sunday evening. d91toastmasters.org.uk for the details, and you can join us wherever you are in the world at 7 p.m. GMT every Sunday evening. Unless Pat and Marie and Jean have anything else to add, I will say a very good night from the team here based in the UK. Thank you for your time. Please, whatever you're doing, stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you again in another webinar. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.